I want to talk about the dark night of the soul. We've all heard of the dark night of the soul, and essentially that's like the rock bottom. That's when things get so terrible that in our lives, our circumstances become so uncomfortable that we are forced to make some hard choices. And I just want to talk about that today because I've had quite a few dark nights of the soul in my life, and I've seen a pattern of my behavior in each of them. You know, it's easy to say, well, you have to make a choice to make your life better. But I noticed that making the choice, the readiness to make the choices that we have to make in that despair, in that rock bottom, doesn't always come easy. And like I said, I want to talk about that a little bit today. I'm going to share with you a story. It's uncomfortable to share. It's way behind me. It's a story that's very personal that I haven't shared before now, but I want to share it with you today. So do your best to reserve judgment of my life choices. So in August, September, around that time of 2010, I had a 1-year-old daughter, and I was 6 months pregnant with my second daughter. And I was with a man who was about 9 years younger than me. I was not married to him. He was not working. When I got pregnant with my first daughter, I convinced him to leave his job and go back to school so he can create a better life for himself. And I had him move in with me. And I thought I could support everybody while he found himself so we could raise this family together. Like I said, don't judge me. Just to give you, a little bit of an understanding of what the situation was. I had been estranged from my father since I was about 14. I had a mother. My relationship with her was tenuous at best, but she lived in New Jersey. I only saw her once every couple of months. I didn't have a lot of friends in my area. I mean, I had friends, but nobody that I was really, really close with. Work friends. And I worked 2 jobs. I worked my career job, and I've mentioned this before, as a director of student development in a private high school, and I tutored for the SATs quite a bit to support this circus that I call my life. So, September 2016, I had just 2010. I had just found out that my daughter that I was 6 months pregnant with, that she could potentially have trisomy 18, which is pretty serious. Like, they discussed terminating the pregnancy, they discussed potential stillborn. And so that was in the cards. And then I quickly found out through the testing that it was actually a congenital heart defect. It was Trilogy FLO, and she would have a heart condition her entire life, and it would require a serious open heart surgery probably within the first year of her life, and subsequent surgeries, perhaps procedures throughout her life. And it was a pretty serious condition. So that was the situation. Within a couple weeks of my understanding of my finding this out in this circus that I call my life, I found out in the worst way. It was very, very Jerry Springer. Remember Jerry Springer, they're throwing chairs at each other in a very Jerry Springer sort of way, that my girl's father was not only cheating on me, but cheating on me through the entire relationship with multiple women in the most sordid sort of circumstances. And like I said, I found out in a sordid sort of way. Again, the details don't matter. They're for another day. They're actually quite juicy if you ever want to talk to me about it. But it was pretty severe. And I'm not proud of the ways that I acted as a result of it. It was really extreme. But what I did in response to this, when the dust settled, is I told him, we've got bigger fish to fry here. We've got this daughter that we have to follow to the end of her term. Her birthday was in January. We have to make sure that she is healthy. And we're going to stay together, and we're going to work this thing out for the sake of the children, because that was my belief. I didn't want a broken home like my family was. I didn't want my children to live without a father the way I lived without a father. So I had these beliefs that dictated how I proceeded without really taking the time to look at what was in my best interest. So time was on. We did the thing. We go to counseling. He decides he wants to go to church, all of those things. And so we have the baby airlifted to Miami Children's, all the surgical stuff that they had anticipated. But from the moment I gave birth to her, I got up and I cried every single day. I had her on January 9th, January 10th, 11th, 12th. I cried every single day. I went to see my gynecologist, follow-up check, told her that I was crying every day. She insisted that I had postpartum. She put me on medication. I was still miserable because my soul knew. It knew what I needed to do, but I didn't want to see it. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. My life was dark. So this went on for months, cried every day. And then finally, somewhere around Mother's Day, now we're talking May, I woke up one day and I was like, this is it. I sat him down. I told him we were done. I allowed him to live in the guest room until he found a place. And then that was it. And I shifted my trajectory and moved forward from there. Now, I share this story because many of us, we're in these deep, dark places, and we know in our souls that there's something better for us. But we have these beliefs or these thoughts. We're afraid of them. I was afraid. What are they going to say? What are they going to say at work? I had already lied and said I was married to save, so my job wouldn't be in jeopardy. What are they going to say? Dana has another failed relationship, and all these feelings of shame and self-doubt. And I'm sharing the story not because I have the 5 simple steps to getting out of that difficult situation. It's none of that, because there's no easy answer, and everybody's answer is very personal. But I'm here to tell you that be gentle with yourself. Your readiness will come when you are ready, but your soul is telling you. It's telling you through misery. It's telling you through tears. It's telling you through discomfort. It's telling you that it's time to make a change. So by letting go of everything outside of what you intuitively feel is best for you, and the judgment that you put on yourself and the judgment that you fear from others, and you release all that and you make the decisions that are in your best and highest good, everything will ultimately work out. My biggest fears that I had about ending that relationship were really all in my head, because what I learned was I dictate my reality. The choices that I make, they affect my trajectory. And if I make choices that are in my best and highest good, that are built on integrity, that are built on self-love, then everything will fall into place. So, with that said, thank you for joining me. Be gentle, be kind with yourself. And as always, Ubuntu.